Welcome to the Kingdom Business Forum, a program where we advance the kingdom of God on earth through business. I'm Vicki Norris, and with me is my co-host, Patrice Saguet. Now, Patrice, we're doing a series on ordering your business, and I thought it was important for us to cover ordering your assets today, which are your people.
Now, Vic, why are people an important part of organizing?
Well, you know, it's true. I mean, as a professional organizer, we're doing this whole series on organizing. You'd think we'd be talking about piles and files, and we will talk a little bit in this series about systems and information and all of the things you would expect. But what I find, you know, as I'm sort of deployed, myself and my team, into people's businesses, that immediately everything that we're doing involves people. We're finding out that, you know, someone in management, you know, has issues with the assistant and they don't know how to communicate. We're finding out that people aren't the right fit for their jobs. We're finding out that the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, that the community use systems are effective for no one. You know, we're finding out that everything has to do with people and whether they even know what they're supposed to be doing, which is kind of scary, but that's what we find, you know, when we go in and we organize people's businesses. So I felt it was very important for this series, and that's why we've invited into our studio today Jo Wold, president of InSync Northwest. It's a leadership development company, and today she's here to speak with us about employee selection and management. Welcome to the program, Jo.
Thank you, Vicki. Thank you, Patrice.
Now, Jo, you're an expert in this area. Tell us a bit about the whole dynamic between employee and employers in this way of organizing.
As we relate to hiring and making a good hire, which I think is the most important relationship to start with between the employer and the employee, the big thing that we find in our company is that 72% of the time, employers hire the wrong person based on lack of character, and they do a really good job in hiring for skills, ability, and knowledge,
So the competence
but not
is
so
good.
good with the character qualities.
Wow. So just to clarify, you're saying that 72% of hires were like the wrong person? So 30% of the time people are getting it right.
Well, if it was a wrong hire, it was due to
Okay.
lack of character as opposed to skills, ability, and knowledge.
Okay. So they could do the job. They, you know, the resume was the right fit.
Fabulous resume, fabulous interview. But what I think it shows is that employers don't do as good a job as they need to in interviewing for the character qualities that they need, like initiative, coming to work on time, and there is a method to do that.
Let me ask a question, because I notice in Christendom, if you will, there's a little interesting thing where people assume just because that person's a Christian that they have automatically the character.
Mistake.
Bad assumption.
And they're even put character over competence or assumed character comes with Christianity. Could you?
I think that many Christian business owners feel that that character comes with being a Christian. And I would love to say that that would be a great litmus test, but we're all human and that's not necessarily the case. And so all the more important for employers to do a really good job of interviewing for the behaviors that they want to see happen on the job, because character drives results. You can have the best skills in the world, and those skills will not drive results unless you have the character behind that to drive the result. If initiative is important for sales, upselling, for instance, they can have the great upselling skills in the world, but if they don't demonstrate the initiative to make that happen, then the bottom line result will not be positive to your financial bottom line.
Okay, so just to take this into a practical scenario. So I run a business, and I've hired people before, lots of people, and let some go. And so how would an employer ask the right kind of questions to look for character? Because I think what you're saying really hits home with me, because I know I've hired some people who they were very organized. They could do the job. I could even train them how to be a professional organizer, how to go into people's businesses and do this thing that we do. But then come to find out they weren't team players. Come to find out they were not motivated in the same manner that we. And so, you know, I've been through your program now, so now I know how to hire the right way and ask the right questions. But for the benefit of our audience, How can an employer begin to ask the right questions? Because it's a process.
It's really a process, but it really isn't all that difficult. What we do is we work with clients to have them identify the 3 to 5 most important character behaviors that if they were not evident in the interview process, they could be deal breakers. And then we help them identify the exact probing, laser-focused interview questions around those 3 to 5 character behaviors, such as, give me a time when you worked in a team environment and no one got along. What did you do? What was the result? How did you handle it?
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Now, is there cases, though, where the reverse happens, where character is overemphasized and competence is not? And what kind of dynamic does that play?
Character can't be compromised, but neither can skill, ability, and knowledge in many jobs. It has been said that you can teach skill, but you can't teach character.
Amen.
Which
I
is,
would agree with
which
that
is
as an
true.
employer.
However, on a practical term, if I'm helping a client with a highly professional position, an engineer, a nurse, a physician's assistant, something like that, surely they need to have all of the skill, ability, and knowledge. However, what's going to differentiate one employee, potential employee, versus another is going to be the character behaviors that you have interviewed for.
Can you hire the wrong person and make them right?
That's a good question. What we tell our clients is that if the skills, ability, and knowledge are so high, but one or more of the character behaviors that you're interviewing for is absent, we're not telling them don't hire that person. But what we do tell them is now you know what area you need to coach them to be successful. So it's a little bit like buyer beware. It's okay that you hire them, but it's not okay if you hire them and then don't coach them to success regarding the 1 or 2 character behaviors that maybe didn't quite meet the mark in the interview process.
Okay, I wanna address that too, because we had that happen in our company. I hired this woman who I just thought she was fantastic, but when I benchmarked her with the DISC test, because your company also does DISC profiling for employees, she met a lot of our requirements. Very good at organizing, very thorough, just understood our company values and everything. But I did not know back then to look for initiative. I didn't know it was a character quality, and that is like a founding character quality of our company. As you can imagine, we have to be the ones that jump in, right? And even in terms of getting back on our clients' calendars, they're disorganized. They're not going to call us.
Right.
We got to get back in with them and help them finish. Well, and I really addressed this with her at the beginning. You have all these other things, but I'm worried about, I don't sense this fire burning in your belly. Oh, I can do it. And even though I coached her, and I appreciate your advice, even though I coached her, I have to say, ultimately, 2.5, 3 years later, she burned out because it was just the pace, the volatility was too much for her. And so in the end, what I found is I didn't honor her and, in that hire that I made. And that's, I think, what you guys are so good at, is helping people really honor the employee and the employer's needs.
One of the worst things that employers can do is hire the wrong person, not just for the employer organization, because it is very costly, as you can imagine. However, it really doesn't do that person a service either.
So, Jo, essentially what Vicky's talking about here, it's okay, you can hire somebody that you're going to coach, but they have to have the potential.
Exactly.
And
And you aren't going to know that through your gut feeling. You're
That's
going to
right.
know that through very laser-focused interview questions around the character qualities that you want in that particular position. And by the way, not every position may require the same character qualities. If you have a production person in a production line, perhaps initiative isn't going to be one of the most important things that they need to be able to demonstrate on a consistent basis. So it varies from job to job.
Now, Jo, we could have you here for so many interviews, because I think what you do is so important. And not only do you help people hire for character, but I know, because I've done it in my organization, you actually help create a culture of character within a company, which I think is really exciting. But one of the things hot on my mind is that as I see businesses sort of flailing around, one of the things I see that's common is people don't even know what they're supposed to do.
Right.
They don't have clear expectations. Can you talk about how common that is and what to do about it?
You know, it's funny, knowing that I was coming here for this, it was really interesting because yesterday I was overhearing two young women behind me, and they were saying how they had each just started a new job in a very large international company, two different companies, and they arrived at work on their first day at work, and they found their supervisor and said, okay, I'm here. And their supervisor said, oh, yeah, that's right, you were coming today. Well, just walk around and kind of figure out what you're supposed to do. I was stunned. And these are very notable international companies, and you would be surprised, or I was surprised, that even occurred. Now, that's the worst case scenario.
I don't know, Joe. I see that all the time in micro enterprises that I know Patrice and I both do coaching with, and small businesses. Mm-hmm. I see it's very common that people don't even know what they're supposed to do. And if the target is always moving, that's not honoring either. That's why I feel like, ordering your employees, having employee systems. And I know, Joe, that you guys also help people with monitoring and tracking their performance. Isn't that right?
Yes. And I think the big thing, too, regarding expectations and monitoring expectations is that it starts with a job description. It starts with, what is this employee expected to accomplish monthly, quarterly, yearly? And whatever they're supposed to accomplish, can it be measured by cost or quality or quantity or timeliness? And then use existing systems within the organization to help the employee and the employer monitor their performance.
On that note, Joe,
So good.
How did they get in touch with you, real quick?
You can call 503-694-1300, or you can email me at jo.wold, WOLDINSYNCNW.com.
So insyncnw.com is their website, too.
Vicki, this little talk here, this particular show, I think is going to save so many businesses.
Oh, my word. I know. That's why I felt it was so important, because you can organize your paper. You can organize a filing system or other systems. But I'll tell you what, if you don't take care of your asset, your people, if they're in the wrong spots, wrong jobs, if you have people who are skilled but don't have good character, you really don't have a sustainable organization.
Right. And that is the highest cost of business. I mean, the other piece here is that obviously you got to look at competence and character, but just because they're Christian, this is talking to the Kingdom business people.
Hello.
Just because they're Christian, don't automatically assume that they come with a character.
That's right. And one of the things I learned from taking Jo, her training on how to hire for character, is that on average, people spend $120,000 replacing an employee that was a wrong fit. Mm-hmm. Hope I'm quoting the right number there, but on average. And that was so deeply wounding to me as an employer, and that was motivating to me to never make the wrong hire again. We've implemented their practices. They work. I hope that you have been blessed by this interview of the Kingdom Business Forum. I hope you'll check out InSync Northwest. Do find us on KB Forum, our YouTube channel, and also reach out to us on Facebook. Give us a shout at Kingdom Business Forum.